Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back. Well, according to a new report that's predicting the coming future of warfare, we can expect to see robots patrolling the skies and an army of super soldiers on the battlefield. Now, this report, visualizing the tactical ground battlefield in the year 2050, is the result of a workshop that was held between the U.S. Defense Department, Army Research Lab, the Institute for Defense Analysis, and a select number of other people there in academia. But they're not really talking about the kind of super soldiers we've seen DARPA working on. They're actually talking about humans that are physically augmented with enhanced capabilities, improving their abilities there on the battleground. So, David, tell me a little bit more about this report.
Absolutely, Leanne. What's very concerning about this is that this is not just a Terminator type of thing. It's also augmented humans. They're getting into some very strange tech that they believe is imminent. Things like force fields.
Wow.
They're talking about, of course, directed energy weapons are nothing new. We have them now. They're also talking about elements. If you look at one section of this, where they're talking about how they see, communicate, understand, decide. These are elements that sound very familiar to us today when we look at the research that's been going on now for 15 years or more with the geospatial intelligence, with human domain analytics, with activity-based intelligence, where they're trying to analyze populations and take it down to the individuals. And they talk about that as well. Listen to some of the topics here. Augmented humans, automated decision-making and autonomous processes, misinformation as a weapon.
Wow.
Okay, that's what unconventional warfare is about. Micro-targeting of individuals. And they're talking about, this isn't about targeting a building, targeting even a vehicle. This is about targeting the individual when they're talking about micro-targeting. So it's micro-targeting in terms of kinetic actions as well as in terms of psychological actions, in terms of propaganda, that sort of thing. Cognitive modeling of the opponent. And that's where all of this feeds into that we see with Jade Helm. They want cognitive modeling of the opponent. In order to do that, they need to know as much as possible about everyone and everything. They data mine this, and then they massage the data to see who pops up. This is one of the things that makes it so dangerous, because when they do this kind of mass collection of data mining and analysis, their analysis can create false positives. They can finger someone who's not really doing anything or not even planning to do anything, okay? That's the whole idea of pre-crime, is to get these people before they do something. That's what we saw with Wesley Clark. That's what we see now with Mike McCall's bill, trying to get FEMA involved in this, analyzing, putting out grants, analyzing it to see who might become a violent extremist. And then, of course, Wesley Clark suggests maybe we ought to incarcerate them. Perhaps that's why they've got FEMA running the grants under Homeland Security. But they also talk about things like swarms and teams. It's very, very distressing. Let me read you some of the things that they are talking about with the augmented humans. They say the battlefield of the future will be populated by fewer humans, but these humans would be physically, mentally augmented with enhanced capabilities and improve their ability to sense their environment, so forth and so on. Now, they're talking about how they think this is very reasonable. This is an extension of current trends. They say that great progress has been made in recent years. And of course, none of us really know how great that progress has been, because that's a secret. But great progress has been made in enhancing vision, hearing, and cognitive skills. And there's been a growing acceptance of implants, because that's one of the ways they're going to do this. Now, they say the enhanced humans themselves will become high-value targets on the battlefield. How are they going to defend against that? Well, they said perhaps other humans and machines will try to overcome them in swarms and that sort of thing. They say they'll be engineered to use less food, less water. They will likely be less affected by adverse environmental conditions that are hostile for humans, like radiation, chemical weapons, biological agents, other area denial techniques, like biological weapons. Okay, so basically what they're doing is, you've got the same time, you've got the CDC and these other organizations going out there importing deadly bacteria. They call them select agents, okay? And then increasing their function. They call that, putting all this stuff together. And we've already seen how in the Tulane National Primate Lab, how that has happened, how that's gotten out of the biosafety level 3 lab into the environment. This is what's very concerning about that. There are over 200 biosafety level 3, level 4 labs throughout the country, and over 100 of them have had serious accidents. So this is the kind of stuff that the Pentagon is working on. True sci-fi situations where they're going to genetically engineer humans to be able to withstand radiation, to be able to withstand diseases that they're going to release into the population with gain of function, making them easier to transmit, more deadly once they are transmitted. All of these things are very concerning. And Leanne, when I look at this, of course, there's also the aspects of automated decision making where the automated machinery, the automated drones, the automated weaponry on the battlefield can make its own decisions without any human input. That is very, very dangerous, the idea of killer robots.
Right.
But all of this together, when we look at everything that DARPA and the Defense Department is doing, and of course it's interesting that this is being reported on from Australia. It wasn't an American paper that picked this stuff up. We need to look at this, and we need to think about the existential threat to the human race that the Department of Defense presents, because DARPA is just out of control in so many different ways. And even if we just go back to the examples I gave about bioengineering and their research on that, that alone is extremely troubling, and especially the accidents that they've had recently shipping live anthrax and so forth and so on. They're messing with very dangerous technologies. And as we see with all these different technologies, whether it's nanotechnology or nuclear technology or biological technology, artificial intelligence, all of these things have the capability of getting out of control.
Absolutely.
And extinguishing, gigadeath, essentially, if it doesn't extinguish most of the people, billions of people, as Hugo de Garis has talked about, just with artificial intelligence. But of course, all those technologies have that capability.
Absolutely, and we see pioneers and researchers in the field of AI warning about this and saying, let's be ethical about this, because they can see the government and DARPA taking this research and that it's going to get ahead of us. And they're really, speaking out loud about this, the potentiality for all of this.
When you look at movies like Jurassic Park, I mean, that's essentially the main theme, is that, just because you can build something like this doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
And the idea that, as Michael Crichton talked about it, thin intelligence, that they see very narrowly, they don't see the surround, they don't understand the consequences of what they're doing. They're focused simply on this technical problem without thinking about the consequences and making themselves servants of some people who really don't have any ethics. I mean, why should we be developing situations like over and over again? We have seen the U.S. military predominantly creating these things, creating these new technologies, and then of course that gets turned over to the other side.
Right.
Tony Stark-wise, if you want to go back to more movie analogies. But basically they supply weapons to both sides. They're either leaked or they're sold to the other side. So they're constantly and feverishly and exponentially creating the threats to all of us. It's absolutely amazing to see something like this, to see what they're looking at just 30 years out. It's just unbelievable.
Right, absolutely. And there was another story where Google was wanting a piece of air traffic control for drones. They're working with a bunch of other tech companies to be able to patrol the skies, because they know the future will be drones. Right. And
Google has bought, when they had the robotics contest with DARPA, Google went out and bought all of the robotics companies that looked promising in that DARPA contest. So by the time they actually had the trials, it wasn't that hard for them to evaluate who it was. And of course, they have essentially unlimited amounts of money. So they went out and bought all those companies, also buying AI companies like Deep Thought and others. Yeah, it's just all of these technologies are coming together with Google, trying to control our transportation. That is a military attack on our population.
Right.
When the government or when Google or when Uber wants to take over our population and control it centrally by one or two corporations, by the government limiting our movements, that is a strategic military move. That is something that is set up to take down our basic freedoms of being able to travel around. We should be very concerned about this corporate involvement, especially Google, the way they have implanted themselves now in the military-industrial complex.
They're much farther ahead of the game than we can even fathom. Well, David, I'm really excited to see what happens when you actually dig a little further into this, because, I mean, this just came out today, so I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about it next week when you are in the chair for the Alex Jones radio show, so that'll be really interesting. Thank you so much on that. Well, stick around, because coming up, I'm going to have another interview with Theo Pymans. He is an author and researcher, and we are going to be speaking about occult circles throughout the centuries and across Europe, and how they've been playing with technology as well.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.